super yachts and Coca-Cola binges of Conor McGregor or the anime nerd antics of Adesanya, in the early 2000s, MMA was very much a sport dominated by dudes with tribal tattoos that just wanted to throw some fucking hands, bro.
Jeff Munson here. You like watching people get for free?
They often looked very much like their counterparts in the crowd, who were necking down cans of Monster Energy alongside some Bud Lights and baying for blood. What I'm trying to say is the mixed part of the MMA wasn't as mixed as it is now, and the product certainly wasn't as polished. It was still in many ways an underground thing, a sport shunned by the mainstream. Fast forward to 2010, and MMA finds itself in a transitionary period, with the UFC truly becoming mainstream for the first time, with stars like GSP bringing real varied martial arts abilities to the octagon, and the big lad, Brock Lesnar, captivating the WWE crowd. Basically, MMA was slowly but surely becoming more legitimate in the eyes of the mainstream, more professional. So if we take it back to gaming, let's look at the two MMA games that came out in 2010 for consoles. UFC 2010 and EA Sports MMA. Both very clean, classic sports game looking products. Now, let's take a look at Supremacy MMA. This box art looks like it smells of a monster-stained tap-out t-shirt and cigarettes.
Welcome to Kyle's Kingdom, where the only email I send is to your girl.
Despite coming out in 2011, this game looked straight from the early 2000s era of MMA. It looked outdated, it looked out of touch, it featured more violence than its counterparts. It focused on the amateur scene more, and it even let you fight in places like the Pit and in
kind of reminds you of Fight Club.
Critics hated all of that before they even got onto the gameplay, which they thought was stiff and had poor controls. But over 10 years later, in the Hood arcade, I'm going to play this game for the first time and see if it really was as bad as the critics of the day said it was, or if they're just soft. Let's crack on. Let me get this off my chest first. I actually don't mind the way it looks and the creative direction they went with it. I know in 2011 it was dated, but picking up this game now, I'm happy to have an MMA game to play that wasn't just trying to be the UFC. Something that wasn't trying to be this super sanitized, professional sporting product. Feel free to call me a Monster Energy drink sniffer in the comments, but I think it's good that they went for something different. Yeah, maybe it does appeal to the Just Bleed crowd more, those baying for blood, but what would Street Fighter be without Mortal Kombat, is what I'm saying. This is just MMA's Mortal Kombat. It's not just a creative direction in terms of focusing on the more underground aspects of MMA, but also the artistic direction to go illustrate
underground fighting,
in my opinion. It's another point of difference, and it works for this game because it allows them to be over the top, to be more arcadey, because it's framed like a sort of comic book rather than real life. Now that I've got that out of the way, and you all think I'm some sort of Neanderthal that gets hard on violence, let's take a look at the roster. On the Xbox 360 version, there's only 14 playable characters, including just 2 female fighters. Now, I was going to shit on them for this, like, what's the point of even having them on the game because they can only fight each other? But then, I read Wikipedia, always a great shout, and apparently this was the first MMA game ever to include any female fighters at all. So I can't criticise them for that. In fact, I've got to give them props for going against the grain yet again. However, if you're picking up this game as a fan of the sport, looking for your favourite fighter, you'll probably be left a little bit disappointed by the roster. Because, obviously, this game didn't have the rights to the biggest names in the sport, it was left picking guys that were way past the prime, like Jens Pulver, a walking can of Monster Energy drink, and a few dudes that you'd have to be real martial arts geeks to have heard of. Sorry, Jens. I mean, he wasn't a bad martial artist. He was just one of them old school dudes that I'm talking about. I'm sorry, Jens. Please don't hit me. Anyway, none of that really matters. The names or the lack thereof don't matter too much because the depth of the roster comes in the styles. You've got a Muay Thai guy, you've got a karate guy, you've got a BJJ guy, a judo guy, a boxer, a kickboxer, a savant. I have no clue what that is. It's French apparently.
That's
just kicked me along. And a couple
fighting martial arts in France.
For me, personally, this was super exciting because they've each got their own movesets and styles that really do represent each martial art so well. I'll dig into those in a bit, but when comparing this to the other MMA games of the time, the variety in the movesets on those games was very little. You could choose a style, but it didn't really make a huge amount of difference. They all just fought MMA, which was more realistic to how MMA really is nowadays. Whereas Supremacy, again, takes more inspiration from the early days of UFC.
Knocked him out, boy. Yeah, this, that fighting was stiff, boy. I Like those kicks and those punches were rough. Yeah. And that was a good thing about all the games. Supremacy, EA MMA, and UFC 2010. They were all three different games. Yeah. It wasn't. Oh, that's the good thing. It wasn't the same old crap like you said. Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat are two different games. Same thing with Fatal Fury and King of the Fighters. Different game. Fighting game was different.
In a full karate outfit, for example, taking on a Muay Thai guy to work out the best martial art out of those two. Also, each style has a corresponding venue, which I absolutely love. The fact that you can fight in these weird and wonderful places, again, is a positive for me. It's something that makes this game stand out. It's something that makes it unique. I like that you can fight in a jail. I don't care how tacky it is, or if you want to argue that it takes away from the sport of MMA. It's a game. Let this be the FIFA Street equivalent to the UFC games. And just enjoy it. Stop crying. Oh!
Knocked him out.
In my opinion, it's this awesome representation of each specific martial art that really sticks out as the best thing about this game. Each character has a really specific moveset, stance, and outfits relating to their martial art, which I think is pretty cool. Additionally, the combat style tries to strike a balance between arcade and realism in terms of the techniques, and I think it does it quite well. Yes, it is overly bloody and violent. Some of the
moves are a bit
over the top, and because it's an MMA game, even the kickboxer and Muay Thai guy has a good ground game, which is obviously just wrong, because these guys don't have any ground game. But, it's a game. It's not an MMA simulator. Granted, the graphics and animations aren't the best looking. They can feel a bit slow when it comes to the grapples, but generally they don't look too bad. And like I said before, the techniques themselves look great. They look true to life for the most part. Oh, elbow! Eat it! Oh, look at him! Ragdoll! The controls take a little bit of getting used to, but they're actually quite straightforward. X is punch, Y is kick, basically. You move the left stick to do different variations on these moves. For example, if I'm the Muay Thai guy and I want a leg kick, I hold the left stick down and I press Y. It's pretty logical, pretty straightforward. The reversal system is very WWE. A button prompt comes up on the screen, and if you press it in the right time, you block or reverse the move. Much like SmackDown vs. Raw games as well, it also has the body damage indicator thing at the top and a health bar, and then this adrenaline mode that slows down your opponent's attacks for easier reversals and makes your attacks do more damage. I will admit that the critics were right when they said the animations do feel a bit stiff, and the pacing can feel a bit sluggish at times. But when you get used to it, you stop noticing it, and it's actually a really fun playing experience. When it comes to game modes, there isn't an awful lot to do. There's your standard fight now, then 2 tournament style modes where your health doesn't regenerate from fight to fight. But the main mode is Supremacy Stories. A name that I wouldn't have personally chose. The phrase Supremacy Stories doesn't have positive connotations in my mind. Yeah, I would have went with something different, fellas. Anyway,
just a story
it's a very
mode.
simple story mode for each character, charting their origin from the start of their fighting career in the underground to breaking into a professional organisation. Again, the cutscene art style really works for me in this context, but it is painfully simple in terms of gameplay. It's just fight after fight in different venues, and it becomes quite repetitive. Thankfully, the story modes are very short and over in like 6 fights. Probably because there's not enough fighters to merit any more than that on the roster. They've got a few extra things to try and increase the playability though. It tracks every time you use a fighter across all game modes with their fight record and a somewhat out of place XP system. You can level up each fighter to level 10, unlocking a new outfit with each level up. That's all that happens though. You get some new clothes and a new rank, sort of like a martial arts grading system for each different character. White belt to black belt to flame denim jeans. The ultimate karate grade.
Flame denim jeans.
It's an okay idea, like I get it fits with a theme of martial arts and leveling up the grades as you get better, as you have more fights, but it's not enough to encourage me to level up each character just because I get a new outfit for each level, and there's only 10 levels. Despite the outfits looking pretty cool, to be fair, like I do love the Muay Thai ones. However, the worst part about this game, aside from the choppy gameplay, has to be the submission system. Now, this is an aspect that all MMA games have grappled with. No pun intended. It is so hard to get submissions right. They're either too powerful or too weak and complicated to use. In Supremacy's
Yeah, you
case,
hate to having
they're
to struggle
definitely
with it.
overpowered. There's no stamina system, so dudes can just chain submissions and do huge damage to you with ease. It works on a stick rotation system, so if you fill the bar first, you escape. If not, you take damage equal to how empty your bar is. So these submission attempts do much more damage than any of the kicks and punches you can manage, and they're just as easy to do. I never once was able to escape a submission. It was hard to react quick enough, and the computer would always win. I can't imagine what it was like playing online back in the day, man. That must have been a nightmare. I do not envy anyone that tried to play this game online back in the day. I bet many controllers were smashed. Rest in peace. What's going on? Hit him! I'm pressing the buttons, bro. I was pressing the buttons. I got knocked out from top. What the fuck? I was pressing the buttons, I swear to God, guys. Okay, let me wrap this up real quick. The main takeaway from this is do not judge a book by its cover. This may look like a Monster Energy drink fever dream made only for tap-out shirt enthusiasts, but I'd argue it's actually a decent arcade-style fighting game that will make both MMA fans and casual gamers happy. As someone that does Muay Thai to a average level, I was really impressed with the effort they put into depicting my martial art in this game. From the stance to the moveset to the outfits and the venues, it was all incredibly legit, and you can tell they really cared. The gameplay may not be silky smooth, the graphics are a bit ugly at times, but it's a fun game that you can definitely get a few hours of enjoyment out of playing by yourself, or it'd be perfect as one of those games you dig out when friends come round. In my humble opinion, Supremacy MMA was an attempt to make an arcade alternative to the super serious sports simulation MMA games of the time, and I think they hit that goal. With a bit more depth in terms of the story mode, I think this could have been great. I'd really love to see a sequel or some sort of remaster now. So the critics in 2011...
They're probably going to bring it back if they say it was bad.
Over a little bit of blood, and oh, the graphics aren't good enough. Shut the fuck up, sit down, crack open a can of Monster, and have some fun for once, will you, right? It's a 6.5 out of 10. It's pretty good. It's got like a tribal tattoo charm. One of those vibes. I quite like Supremacy MMA.
I thought you were talking about the drink. You're talking about the drink of the game for a second there. 6 out of 10.
I'm not messing. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. Not many people stick around to the end of videos nowadays, so I want to know when you have. So comment the word tribal down below and I'll reply to your comment and I'll shout you out in the next video because I know you've watched the video all the way through and I really appreciate it. These are the people that watched the 50 Cent Blood on the Sand video all the way through when it first dropped. Big shout out to these people.
I remember that
Thank
game.
you so much for watching it all the way.
Yeah, that was a classic. But how was this better than the UFC, or was it 2010 or what's the other game? The EA MMA. I don't know about that now. It'll probably come in for me. It'll probably come in last. But I played because I was still like I said, until Uncharted just totally took over. I was still getting a bunch of fighting games back then. I can't remember what the last one I got was when they made Tekken vs Street Fighter. Never thought I'd see that. You know, they had all those versus games, Marvel vs Capcom, Capcom vs SNK, all that stuff. So yeah, it wasn't that bad. The game was just stiff as hell and bloody, beating the man's head in. Almost like a modified version of the Pride. I'm not going to make the PS2. The Pride game. I'll never forget that intro. That was the roughest damn thing you've seen. That man was stepping on the man's head. I ain't talking about the double foot stomp, the regular foot stomp. Just stepping it in. If the referee hadn't broke it up, he would have crushed that man's skull. Woo, woo, woo. Woo. And then the soccer kick to the face, busting your nose, breaking your nose with it. Yeah. But yeah, but out of the 3 games that year, this one it'll probably come in third.